To understand why a man walks away from a miracle, you first have to understand how that miracle was conjured. You see, San Francisco has always been a city of the next big thing. It's in the soil. It's in the salt air. It started back in 1849. A whisper went out across the world. Gold. Men left their families, their farms, and their senses to rush toward these very hills. They weren't looking for a home. They were looking for a jackpot. That was the first boom. And it set the temperament of this city forever. San Francisco didn't grow slowly like an oak tree. It exploded like a supernova. But the gold in the ground eventually ran out. Most cities would have faded into the history books then. Not this one. It waited. It reinvented itself. And in the late 20th century, it found a new kind of gold. It wasn't yellow, and you didn't find it in a riverbed. It was etched onto tiny slivers of silicon. I watched as orchards and quiet valleys were paved over to make room for the giants. Fairchild, Intel, Hewlett-Packard. These weren't just companies, they were the new gods of the mountain. They turned a sleepy bay into the brain of the entire planet. By the time the early 2000s rolled around, the network effect had taken hold. It was a gravitational pull so strong, no one could resist it. If you were a young dreamer with nothing but a laptop and a vision, you had to be here. You didn't come for the weather, and you certainly didn't come for the peace and quiet. You came because of the coffee shops in Palo Alto and the bars in Soma. You came because the person sitting at the table next to you might just be the venture capitalist who would hand you a $10 million check before the espresso got cold. It was the only place on earth where a college dropout could become a billionaire before his 30th birthday. By 2015, the city had become a tech monoculture. It was a digital goldmine. The wealth was staggering. Every skyscraper that rose was a monument to an IPO. The skyline was reaching for the heavens, led by the Salesforce Tower, a 61-story glass spire that looked down on the world as if to say, "We've won. The future belongs to us." But there's a funny thing about winning. Sometimes you forget to look at what you're losing along the way. While the skyscrapers were rising, the foundation was rotting. The cost of living soared until a humble schoolteacher or a firefighter couldn't afford to live within 50 miles of the city they served. We created a world where you could summon a private chef with an app, but you couldn't find a place for a nurse to sleep. The city became an island of the ultra-rich, surrounded by a sea of people who could no longer afford the dream. We were standing on the peak of a mountain of our own making, feeling invincible. The party was loud, the money was flowing, and the lights were bright. No one wanted to believe that the sun was starting to set. No one wanted to admit that the miracle was about to become a ghost story. The stage was set. The ego was at an all-time high. All it took was one little spark to send the whole thing tumbling down. When the magic fades, the reality is a bitter pill to swallow. Join us for the next chapter, The Catalyst, the moment the world changed.